I hope that you enjoyed that montage. It was basically just a Gem Knight FTK deck that I kind of revitalized, and seen how it worked. Uh, this deck does have a lot of problems with, like losing to Nib or losing to like specific hand traps and specific choke points. But at the same exact time, if they hit the wrong thing, or if they wasted on something that they don't really need to, and we have extenders in our hands, or we have any way to get to where we want to get to, then we basically just mow down and do everything that we need it to do. So we're just gonna go over some cards that are in the deck that facilitate and what they do. And if you like never even heard of Gemini FTK, it is a old strategy way back in the day. Um, Maybe 8 months ago, or whenever Power of the Elements came out with all the sprite stuff, they ended up printing Gemini Quartz, Scatter Fusion, and this card, which this card really doesn't matter at all, but these two do. Um, and it basically gave the deck what it was missing. A long time ago, when this deck used to be like crazy and actually like really good and stuff, there was Brilliant Fusion, but they have since banned that a long time ago. And Scatter Fusion basically does what Brilliant Fusion did, just it requires your opponent to have a card on the field, and this Quartz also requires your opponent to have a card on the field in order to go and set Scatter Fusion directly from your deck. So what we're doing was basically abusing Black Garden to give my opponent a monster to immediately be able to do it on turn one. Um, so we have a few ways that we can get the Black Garden. Obviously, we hard draw it. We have 3 of it in the deck. We use Terraforming. Or if we get lucky enough and we have any way to get to Lapis and a Researcher, then we can actually use those to sink into Garden Rose Maiden and then grab it that way. Um, so there's a few different ways that you can get to it. It's not like 100%. Some of the plays that you've seen don't actually facilitate full combo, and then you have to kind of worry about turn two, see what you can do. There was one in here that I put in that was kind of funny. I was playing against some branded player. I think he was playing branded at least, and I opened up with literally nothing, and I couldn't play to get to any of the burn. So I just went Nappies, and luckily for me, he had 5 spells in his hand, and he had one monster that was literally dead. So it was kind of funny, so I put that in there. But, yeah, so Gemnite Fusion is just your normal fusion card, but you can also banish a Gemnite monster, bring it back to your hand, use it again, and that's not a once per turn, so you can just keep on using it if you have materials to keep on using it. Gem Armadillo is just basically a Stratos for the deck. It adds you a Gem Knight monster. And that comes in handy because sometimes, like, if you're going turn 2 and your opponent doesn't have a crazy negate board, this is basically a one card starter to get you to your courts to immediately get you a Scatter Fusion. So it's basically like a one card starter if you're going second. If you're not going second, then it's not a one card starter at all. This guy, Obsidian, he is an extender. When he's used for a fusion, um, and sent from your hand to the grave, you can special summon a level 4 lower normal monster, which is your Lapis, from the grave. Get that additional body. Sometimes that comes up in one of the replays. It came up, so I had an additional special summon monster to get 500 extra damage with Lapis, or Lady Lapis Lazuli. Crystal Rose is really good, cause Seraphonite requires you to have a light monster, and that's the only light monster we run on our whole entire deck, so we can dump that from the deck with Scatter Fusion, and anything else, depending on what your grave is or what you got going on, you can either dump her and then get a Lapis back, or you can just dump the Lapis and then use Rose later on to dump this to add the Lapis back. But this card's kind of cool. Whenever it's in the graveyard, you can banish a fusion monster, special summon it back. and that's a once per turn, but the Foolish Burial effect to dump a card from your deck to the grave is not a once per turn. So if you get her on the field, or if you get this card on the field, you dump one, you send it to the grave to, make its name, whatever you sense, and the attribute, and I think the level of the card. No, this one's just the name. So it just becomes a name, and then that's crucial because if you don't have any other extenders, say you opened with Unexpected Die and you opened with like a whole bunch of spells or something, or like just dead cards, and it went off, so you got your Lapis, and then you need this on the field to get into your Phantom Courts. This itself won't actually classify itself as a gem monster, so you're gonna have to dump a card from the grave or from the deck to the grave to get its name, so it's considered a gem monster, so you can go into your link and do your plays. Um, but besides that, it's an additional body for the burn. It's a additional extender when you dump a card, so you can go into courts. Um, and it's also a additional name, so like you can dump your Lady Lapis, and now he is Lady Lapis. So then you can go into Lady Lapis Lazuli and get your combo started like that too. Quartz, like I said earlier, is a discard to add your Scatter Fusion directly from your deck, and it's not an add, it's a set, so they can't actually ash it, which is nice. And then it has additional effects that if it was used for a fusion summon, and since they grave or banished, which that comes up to, with, I think Scatter Fusion. No, that dumps. That goes to the grave. I don't know, there's some way that you can do it where you banish the stuff. But anyways, if you banish it or whatever, you can add a material that's in your grave back to your hand, which could be your Lady Lapis, or your Lapis if you need it, or any of your other extenders. Scatter Fusion, when your opponent controls a monster, you can use it to dump cards directly from your deck, and basically use it as like a branded fusion. For Gem Knights, Lazuli is just a target normal monster in the grave, add it back to your hand, so you're only adding your Lapis, and it's only when it gets sent to the grave from a card effect, which is off of either your Crystal Rose or your Scatter Fusion, or I'm sure there's probably another line in here too somewhere. Oh yeah, if you dump it off of Lady Lazuli, which you'll never do, but if you did, that could come up too. I run one of this guy. He's just an additional name. I don't think I've ever used his Banish one face up and one monster you control. It's a normal monster and target a Gem Knight fusion in your grave and special summon. I don't think I've ever done that, but it could potentially come up. So, plus he's like one of the other names that are decent. Most of the Gem Knight monsters are pretty. Rescue Rabbit. There was a play in one of the replays that I did, which was kind of funny. The guy tried to imper my Rescue Rabbit because Rescue Rabbit tributes for cost. The effect got negated, but then I was able to summon out my Analyzer and do Analyzer plays. So that was kind of funny. But this just gives you your two Lapis, so you can immediately go into your Phantom Courts and get your play started. And then this is basically a weaker version of your Rescue Rabbit, but not really, because it saves you your normal summon, so you can use this to get your Lapis out, and then if you have another Gem Knight monster, normal summon that, and then you're back to where you need to be. Terraforming, obviously, to add your Black Garden. Black Garden's kind of a cool card. It's an older card, but if you were to normal summon or special summon, or if your opponent was to normal summon or special summon, whoever normal or special summon gives their opponent a token, and then that token is a level 2, 800 attack, 800 defense, and if the token's successfully summoned on the opponent's side of the field, whatever card was normal summon or special summon to proc that effect gets attack cut in half, which comes up a lot, actually. There's been a whole bunch of games where, like, I went this, first turn or whatever, they stopped me, and then I was able to survive because of Black Garden. They weren't able to get rid of it, and then I just popped off and won anyways. Researcher is really good. It allows me to get basically any of my other Gem Knight monsters on the field if I need be. You have to beat 5 cards. You special summon a rock monster as a non-tuner, which is all of the Gem Knight monsters. And it special summons itself if you have a rock monster, and it's a tuner. So that's how you can go into your Garden Rose Maiden, or you can go into Nat Beast. And you can go into Ancient Fairy Dragon too. There's a play, I don't think I had it in any of my replays, but there's a play that I did where I popped my opponent's field spell to give me my Black Garden, and then pop off that way too. But one thing that is good to note if you are going to play this deck is if you are going first and you open up with any of your, well, not any of them, you have to open up with either Lapis or Ascidian to do the play, but you open up with one of those two, or any of these cards to get out Lapis, and you open up with that. If you're going to go for Black Garden, you need to do it before you do anything else, because Scatter Fusion, Quartz, Phantom Quartz, and I think that's it, but they all lock you into only Gem Knight monsters after you activate their effects. So you gotta be really careful about that, and of course, Phantom Quartz, Quartz, and Scatter Fusion are like your main plays that you need to do. So you need to be careful if you don't have your Black Garden and you're gonna do the play to get your Black Garden. You want to do that before you do anything else. And that's why you see in some of the replays that I don't like go into this to like burn for extra damage at the end of my turn, even though I wish that I really could, or you know, go into any of these guys to get additional things. So yeah, just be wary about that. Called By obviously is perfect for this deck. I mean, Ash kind of hurts sometimes depending on when they hit you with it. Adamantipator Signs is just a really good revive for the deck. And then Analyzer, we've seen in some of the replays where she came up pretty clutch. If you have like a Black Garden or whatever, like the one replay that I was talking about with the Rescue Rabbit, and I tributed him off because I normal summoned the Rescue Rabbit and I already had Black Garden on the field. Then they had a monster, which then makes Analyzer live along with the plays for Scatter Fusion and Quartz. So. And Analyzer is just a tuner and does the same exact thing as Researcher does. Looks at the top 5, the rock monster, it's a non-tuner, special summons it. About all. For the extra deck, this adds you any Gem Knight card, and it also allows you to fusion summon using your Banish Zone and your Graveyard. So that's a really good thing to note. This guy is in here because through play testing, there was one specific time where it's not in the replays, but when I activated Black Guard, my opponent stopped me or whatever, and then I was sitting on like 5 tokens, and there's not really anything in this deck to tribute off the tokens to do what you need to do. So I was just kind of sitting there with the tokens, and I didn't want to waste my battle phase, so I just used this guy to go into him. He's just an additional pop and also a summon, so that's about all. The one man that allows this to kind of work, Master Diamond allows you to target a Gem Knight monster in the grave, banish it, and its effects become the effects of whatever you banished. And then this is obviously the main component of this FTK. Lady Lapis, she says that you can drop a card from your X deck or your deck that is a Gem Knight monster, and then you can burn your opponent for 500 times the amount of special summon monsters on the field. And it's a once per turn. It's not a hard once per turn, so if you are able to actually summon her again, then you could, right? Oh, well, you can only special summon one of her per turn, so you'd have to summon it back from the grave, which, I mean, we don't really have any crazy ways to do that, but that's why you dump herself, and then you go into Master Knight to banish the additional copy, and then do the burn again. Seraphonite is pretty good for the combo. Allows you to get an additional body on the field, and she is the main one that we go into with the scatter fusion play because this requires it to be a non-rock Gem Knight monster, and we only have Seraphonite and Lady Rose Diamond. Which Lady Rose Diamond, don't get me wrong, she's good, but she's not good at the same exact time. Her protection effect does come up sometimes. Her pop effect is only on your turn, but luckily it is a multiple times thing. So as long as your opponent activates a card when it's on like a monster effect on your turn, you can banish Gem Knight monsters all day and pop cards on their side of the field, which is kind of cool. It's kind of neat. It doesn't come up a lot, but sometimes it does. And the protection effect in one of the replays actually saved my Master Diamond. Not that it really stayed there after the fact, but it forced them to use their Baron Pop, and then they missed because they didn't read, obviously. Seraphonite's just an additional normal summon. That's basically all it does. Brilliant Diamond just allows you to summon any of your Gem Knight fusions from your extra deck for free, ignoring its summon conditions. You just have to tribute a card on the field. Once you contribute it herself. Locusaurus, he's just an additional burn card. Target a card that your opponent controls, pop it. They take the damage of the original attack. You can go into that like turn 2 or whatever with Seraphonite and the Lady Lapis if you want to. Just kind of there. And that beast obviously is there for negate of spells, which in one of the replays you guys seen how he works. Rose Garden Maiden, just here to get the Black Garden to do facilitating combo. And Ancient Fairy Dragon is just another way to get Black Garden if your opponent has, or like if they're playing a heavy field spell deck. And he's an additional summon for you, which is sometimes needed. Not all the time, but sometimes it's needed. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this deck profile. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff like this in the near future. So stick around for that. But anyways, this is MadMat9955 signing out. Peace.